While we try to be as helpful as possible, this podcast should not be considered as professional or financial advice. It contains general information only, and you should seek out professional advice for your own personal circumstances before making any financial decisions.
Alrighty, welcome back, guys. My name is Julia.
And I'm Nick.
And this is the Enthusiast Lab.
No shit.
Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the Enthusiast Lab. So I'm holding a big pink mug.
I got a big ass fucking green one. I've upgraded.
I feel like that's teal. That's not green. It's kind of like an aqua green. So we've upgraded our mugs so that we don't run out of fluids throughout our podcasting sessions.
Or coffee.
Thank you very much, Alpha, for gifting that to us.
Alpha Companionship.
Yes. So this episode we are going to be talking about Prestart Part 2. So we had like 2 pages of notes.
We ran out of time.
Yeah.
We started going on the fucking tangent too
like,
much.
It wasn't that much notes to look at realistically, but the more we kind of talked, the more we realized there's so much more info than what's written down.
Yeah, like we've got dot points just so then we can actually keep track of where the fuck we're going. But the thing is when you start going over the dot points, you start actually having to explain like a scenario on it, and then all of a sudden it's like fucking 45 minutes for like 10 dot points, and we've got like 2 pages worth.
Yeah, because my dot points aren't super great. They just said wardrobe, rail, height, and then I feel like you can't just say that, you got to explain it more.
So Nick's top tips is wardrobe, rail, height.
So we have to explain it more, and then we
PowerPoint in master.
So we kept looking at the time, we're like, shit, this is becoming a really, really long episode. So it wasn't meant to be a 2-parter.
But it is now.
But it is now. And this is probably going to be the shorter end of the...
Stick.
This is going to be on the shorter end of like a 2-parter. Just to try and squeeze in the last extra bits that would have taken us over the extra 20 minutes that we didn't want to go.
If we find something along the way that we're talking about, we'll just fucking add that in as well.
Yeah.
And we might double up on some shit because I can't remember last time what we spoke. So if there's a double up, not sorry.
It's just really emphasizing the point.
All right, let's get into it.
So I wanted to go back. The last thing I remember us talking about was storage. And we mentioned that we had overheads in the kitchen, which I think we talked about. If budget allows, add overheads in the kitchen.
To add overhead cupboards into the kitchen and laundry or scullery, wherever applicable, just to add that extra. Because, man, let's just be real. No kitchen or home ever has enough storage.
Facts.
Do you know what I mean? No matter how big your kitchen is, if you've got the extra room, you'll find something to fill it. If you don't, you will have to shrink down.
Triple facts.
Yeah. So the reality is a lot of the rentals that a lot of people are in, there's just not enough. So why not fucking when you build, just spend the extra and get it. If you can do it in the build, happy days, request it with the builders because 90% of them don't include that standard. There are some that do because of their fucking promos and bullshit, but normally it's not quoted in, so then you can ask for that at pre-start and pay for that difference.
Just ask how much it is. Like, it doesn't hurt to ask. If it's too much.
Oh, if it's too much, then fucking just scrap it. Yep. But, unless you ask the question, you're not going to fucking know. Like,
that's it.
Thinking that it might be $2,000 or you might be $10,000, it might only be $4,000. You don't know. But anyways, that's what we started.
Remind me, I just thought of something. Tiles, but we'll circle back to that when we get to bathrooms. We're just going to be adding stuff as we think of them.
Go on.
So the other thing about storage was pot drawers, and they are so popular.
Yeah.
I think it's if you know how to use pot drawers well, it's worth it.
They're still expensive.
They are expensive, but I think a lot of people really like pot drawers. I'm not a pot drawer person, but I know a lot of people are, and they kind of swear by them. It is an upgrade from your standard.
Yeah. So pot drawers are just basically, rather than having your standard cabinet doors, they actually turn them into like a three pot drawer setup in that, and you can choose if you're doing on one door cabinet, which is 450 mil wide, so 450 wide, or taking over 2 cabinets, like doors, cabinet doors.
Yes.
Yes. We're trying to imagine how the fuck it actually works.
So like a whole cabinet that has two doors.
So a full cabinet with 2 doors, you can convert those. That's normally as wide as they go, which is a 900 wide.
Yeah.
And you can either do it as a 3 or a 4, depending on how you want to do it.
4 high or 4?
4 high.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah, so because they're all horizontal,
Yeah.
they pull out horizontally.
It just means they're a little bit skinnier.
Correct,
But they're
correct.
longer.
Yep. So
wider.
Yes. Julie, you're going to confuse everyone. Shush. So that's what they're basically, and they've got a lot more depth. So obviously it's very handy for a lot of pots and pans and, like bowls and shit like that. So you can really smash it in and it looks clean as fuck, especially when you start looking at not having handles and having fingerless grips, and it just makes the kitchen look like $1 million.
Yeah.
And you see a lot of those real high-end homes, that's what they have. So people want to incorporate that into their new builds. So it is something. It is expensive. By expensive, I'm not saying it's thousands of dollars per, set. Let's say 900 wide set. But I would throw a figure out between, if you allow between 600 to 900 per set, like per, cupboard, what the fuck we're called.
Yep.
It will add up very quickly in the kitchen.
But it's worth maybe adding one set.
Yeah. Again, it depends on how big is your kitchen, how much spare room do you have, is it worthwhile? Sometimes if it's a bit skinnier kitchen because you've got a smaller home, it may not actually be worthwhile. You might actually be more detrimental into your setup rather than just keeping the cupboard doors. So that is something to think about. Another one to think about is every home, normally you have your drawers, like your 4 sets of drawers for like all your cutlery and shit.
Yeah.
Now, I recommend, if you've got that extra bit of space, is to actually use up an extra cupboard door and widen your cutlery drawers. So instead of it being a 450, which you see in most rentals, it will become twice the size. And you can get, you may have to spend a little bit more to get the cutout fittings for it, but it gives you so much more room for a lot more spoons and knives and shit like that. It really actually makes it a lot more convenient. Again, if you've got the spare space, if not, it is what it is. But it's just something to think about. It doesn't actually cost a lot. As
much as you think.
Yeah, it doesn't actually cost a lot, and it's just something to query with the builder what it might cost and what it will look like. And a lot of them actually do have the options. You do see them in a lot of display homes, and people just sit there and go, "What the fuck?"
Yeah. So the last thing on storage is wardrobe rail heights. So I thought we could talk about what the standard height is and maybe the option to lift it.
What is the standard height?
Oh, I don't know.
I think it's 2 meters high.
Is it 2 meters high?
Yeah.
Shows my knowledge. No, I think it's lower than that.
Either it's 1850 or 2 meter.
I think it's 1800 or 1850.
I think it might be about 1800, and people raise it to 2 meter high.
Yeah.
So then they can suit, like, if you've got dresses and shit like that, you can or pants. Fuck me, pants. Like if you're a tall motherfucker, like your pants are bigger. So the last thing you want is to be hanging it and then just dangling on the floor.
Okay, but they're not like 2 meter long pants. It's more for dresses. And the opportunity to maybe put a rail underneath so that you have your
or
shirts.
Like a cupboard for like shoes and shit.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you have your shirts on top, and then you can always post handover, add another rail underneath where you hang your pants, or rip it out and do a whole kitchen kit out through like IKEA.
Yeah, you can do a whole IKEA setup. But
wardrobe setup.
There are builders that will actually just, add another shelf and rail if you want it. So at the end of the day, it just comes down to, like, do you know what I mean? What you're actually wanting to do.
Yep. So the next one is bathrooms. So we haven't covered bathrooms at all. And the first one that I mentioned to you that to remind me, but you
tiles.
Didn't, is tiles.
You said to remind you, tiles.
Thank you so much. Think about the tiles that you get as standard, which I believe is your 450.
What are you talking about?
Bathroom tiles.
Bathroom tiles, no.
No, they're the 200?
No, the 300s by 300s or 299 by 299, basically.
Okay. Could be worth looking at the price to upgrade to a bigger tile.
If it's allowed by the builder.
If it's allowed by the builder.
And it depends on how big your bathroom is. There's always a difference. If the bathroom is a lot smaller, it's very hard to get the full correct.
Yes.
So therefore, there'll be one thing, there'll be additional costs, but two, they might not actually want to do it because it's just too hard of a job.
Okay.
If your ensuite is a bit bigger, then you can look at other options, which might be a 2x400 or a 3x600 tile. So it means it's 30 wide, 600 wide, 300 high.
Yep.
And basically, normally when you do those type of bigger tiles, obviously they're usually rectified porcelain, so it costs more for the tile, costs more for the labor, but also for the fall to be correct, sometimes they need to change it into a channel grate into the shower.
Yep.
So therefore, the fall can be laid correctly because they need to be able to actually make sure the water drains out properly and doesn't just puddle, which sometimes it's a lot harder with bigger tiles. That's why a lot of project builders just go, fuck that, keep to our standard, that's it. Some of the other builders will potentially look at it. It's a case by case.
The other thing that we haven't written in here, but we just did we recorded a reel about it, is your butt joint versus your...
Yeah, so we're talking about the tile finish. So standard with most builders is actually that you have what's called a butt joint finish. So what that means is when you're going around like the edging of like windows and all that in the wet areas, they lay, the tiles basically they'll lay it vertically first, and then the ones that come to the like horizontally around the edging, they'll just lay them, and what you see is like the outside of the tile,
edge of the tile,
the edge, which is the butt. So it's not actually completely finished. Like the look of your tile that you've chosen is just exposed, like a reddish grey.
It's like a ceramic finish. It's the inside or the back side of the tile.
It's the inside of the actual tile. So that's just standard. So what we do recommend, there's two different options you can potentially do. Number one is mitered edging. So mitered edging is basically where you grab the tile and you actually cut it on a 45-degree angle, and then you join the two edges together, which creates a perfect finish, a lot more flush. You see, you'll see the actual tile that you've chosen from all ends, rather than having just this random fucking butt joint. The other alternative, which may be cheaper, is called what's it called?
No, don't look at me. I know what you're talking about, but
it's called the trim.
Trim, yeah.
The trim. So the trim is basically like a metal trim that goes around, and you can normally a lot of builders might do chrome as standard. You can do some black trims. Again, it depends on where it is and how it looks. Especially
and what colours you choose, I think, as well.
We do quite a lot of it. We'll throw up some photos as I'm talking about this. Especially around the soap niches that we've talked, I don't know if we've talked about it yet, but we will. Basically, when you cut out, to put somewhere for your soap holders, around that, because it's all tiled, you've got one of three options now. Either you pay for mitered edging, which can be quite expensive, or you leave it butt joint, which it is what it is, but it doesn't look the greatest.
It doesn't look bad. I think it's just something that you notice the minute you see what mitered looks like. You'll notice it.
Yep. So that's the next one. And then the third one is you put the trim around that, and it basically frames it out. It actually looks quite nice. So you can do that in some areas. We did it with our renovation in our ensuite because we had a highlight window where our shower is. So we actually did the trim around that as well. So then it actually framed the window and everything around the shower, and they actually look really nice.
Yeah, I think it's a less expensive version.
It's a cost-effective change that does make a bit of a difference, especially if you choose your colours right.
Yeah, definitely, and it brings another colour in. It gives finishes it off.
Well, if you're doing black tapware, you can do a black trim.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? So you're following it through, but also not introducing another colour that you don't need to.
Yeah. Keeping on the tile concept, if budget allows, and this is quite an expensive upgrade, but adding full height tiling to the bathrooms.
So most builders, once again, it's not standard to have full height tiling in the home. It is always an additional cost. So if everything permits, especially during when you first chat with your consultant, with us or with whoever the fuck it is, if that is not even a want, it's a need, you need to have this for your next home, immediately discuss that with your person, because we can put that into with your people. Discuss this with your people. The reason why is because you can just pull it into the mortgage and get it all costed up front, and then it makes your life a lot easier when you start going for tile selections to make sure you get it correct. That is a very big one. It does cost a bit of money. Normally the builders will charge that they will do your full height tiling in the ensuite or the bathroom only. They normally don't include your toilet. Your toilet will always have just one tile as the bottom skirting, and that's it. In introducing into that, something that we did with our build, and I do recommend if the budget permits, is in the toilet rather than going all the way up, because
it's a bit much.
It's a bit excessive, and I don't actually think it looks that great. What we did was actually add additional tiling if you really want it, but up to the light switch. So it's not actually all the way up, but it's enough that when you're sitting to chuck a shit, you can actually still see it's nice and flush, and then have it all painted up top, hang up a fucking painting or a shelf, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, you're done. And you're done. So then, do you know what I mean? But the main focus is obviously always in the ensuite, especially around the, like windows and shit. You want to have that all completed properly. It will cost you a bit of dollars. I normally gauge around $5,500 for both bathrooms. That is the ensuite and the bath and the spare bathroom, not including toilets, as a rough idea for figures. Again, guys, this can be way off or bang on or fucking way under. I don't know. But on average, that's where it seems to be for 2 bathrooms to be completely done, because the standard is like normally 1 row of tiling around where your bench top is. It's normally tiled right behind it. And then in the shower, it's always done up to 2 meters high. That is standard.
I thought it was up to the shower screen.
Which is 2 meters high.
Oh, okay, yeah. So it basically goes up to the top of the shower screen.
Yes, correct. Yeah. So 2 meters high. That is what's allowed. And it's in most of the builder standard contract. It's 2 meters high.
Easy, okay. So staying on bathrooms, the next...
Oh, actually, another one for bathrooms. I'm going to throw all the shit in here now. No, shush. Hold on. This is actually important.
Fuck myself.
I'll let you know when. All right. This one, guys, actually, I want you to listen to. So this is about the tiles and the different tiles heights and selections that you do, because I'm actually seeing this a lot on social media at the moment, where people are complaining that their builders got incorrect heights on different tiles, especially if they have a feature tile versus another. Now, if you choose the standard with most of the builders, the way it works is it's based on the tiles that you select. You would, in your best interest, you would want to choose the same size tiles across the board, whether you do your standards and then your feature wall tile, if you choose to do so that when it comes time to you doing a tile meeting and you're requesting all of that, if you haven't done full height tiling especially, choosing the same size tiles, so if it's, as an example, 298 by 400 or by 398, however the fuck the tiles are, calculated for length and height wise. If you choose that correctly, you'll actually be very close to getting the same grout level across the entire way as they layer up the shower. So that what we see so much of, and I see it, is when tilers and builders and clients choose a really nice feature tile that is one size, and then let's talk about double shower here. So the main wall is normally the feature wall, and then the 2 sides where the shower heads are, that's like a different tile. Okay. So they choose a different height there, and then they choose a different tile for the feature, and they're not the same height. So all of a sudden, when they start layering them up and they're laying the tiles, you're getting fucking grout levels all different, and everyone's sitting there going, what the fuck, this is shit. But you've chosen those heights without knowing that this is something that can happen, and that can be a real issue. Okay,
so what you're saying, it's not exactly different tiles. What you're saying is if you're getting rectangle tiles, stay to the same size rectangle or same size square. Rectangle is normally the ones that you get, because some rectangles can be bigger or smaller. You're not necessarily referencing ones that are like hexagon tiles or the fish scale ones.
No.
We're talking about rectangle to rectangle. If one rectangle is a little bit taller than the other rectangle, it's going to start throwing out and creating this ladder effect, which you don't want. It doesn't look appealing to the eye.
Correct. And you also will sometimes, like if you are really pedantic and you want everything to be as flush as possible, I do recommend do full height tiling from the beginning, because then the tiler will begin from the bottom all the way up, the entire way to be the same. If you choose the standard by the builder, where your bench top is, those tiles will be at a different height compared to where your shower is, and there is absolutely fucking nothing you can do about it. So depending on how anal you are about how you want the house to look and the ensuite and all these things, this is something that you really need to consider when you're doing your choices for pre-start. It gets missed all the fucking time. Sometimes the pre-starters don't actually notice it. They just go, is this your tiles? Yep, cool. Okay, great. Let's move on. You need to think about these things. And this is something that we're seeing quite a lot of at the moment on social media, where they're going, is this right? Well, according to your selections, it is. You just have to fucking live with it now, or rip it out afterwards and get it redone after, and that's a fucking shit show.
Yeah, that's a bit rough.
Yeah, so it's just something to think about. Make sure you choose the right tiles, or you know what you're in for before making those selections.
Yep. Next one for bathrooms is with the spare bathtub.
Yep.
Moving the handles to the opposite end.
Yes, yes. So the standard way when you think about spare bathrooms, if you've got those little ankle weather bathtubs, right? Normally the fucking what's it called? The spout.
Yep.
Is normally right in the middle, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes they're right in the middle under if you've got a window there, or they're on the complete opposite end, normally away from everything. What we recommend is if you have it in the middle, it's up to you. It may get in the way, like, you know, if you've got your knees fucking hanging out the thing. What I do recommend is don't have your handle in the same place. I recommend that you put the handle to either the very left or the very right, depending on how your ensuite is set up, especially, and also how you are if you're left-handed or right-handed as well. If you're right-handed and you're walking towards the bathtub and you had, let's say you had the spout on the left-hand wall as far away where your legs will normally be, then I would put the handle on the right-hand side. So what ends up happening is that you can just literally turn it on, let it start filling in, do what you need, and you can turn it off. And it's right near you. So if you need to empty it out and put some more hot water rather than you having to lean over the whole place, you just lift it up, lift it down. It just makes life a bit easier. It doesn't cost you anything, but it can make a bit of a difference with the whole thing. It will look a little bit out of place because obviously with how it is, but functionality. I think sometimes functionality may win over pretty looks, in my opinion. But look, some people might sit there and go, nah, I don't give a fuck, I'm doing it this way. No qualms. But it's just a tip to think about.
With the spout also, there is an upgrade that we saw
yes.
clients have.
Yeah, Hanny and Kyle.
Yeah, shout out. Which is a spout that you can pull. Swivel spout. That you can pull out and push back in. So it doesn't overhang over your bathtub, because there have been so many times where you're trying to get out the bathtub and you knock your knee, you knock your shoulder,
knock your knee, bro.
Knock your back, whatever
I've fucking cut myself from it, eh? I've got.
How quickly are you getting out the bath?
pretty quick. It gets a bit cold.
So think about a swivel spout that you can push back into the wall. It kind of like folds in on itself. So
yeah, it's a swivel. So you pull it out and it swivels to where you want the water to aim. And then once you're done, you just swivel and it goes flush against the wall again. So whichever way you do it, at the back end or in the middle, that's also, you know, I don't know how much it will cost. I reckon probably about 100, 150 bucks, worst case. I don't know.
Not overly expensive.
Well, it's not fucking thousands of dollars or some shit.
It makes a big difference.
Exactly. If you don't want to do like, you know, the other way, then a swivel, 100%. Fuck, just looks sick. It looks nice. And there's different color options as well. From like, there was a chrome, brushed nickel, and a black as well. So at least you got some options with it.
Yeah. Okay, next thing is adding a nib brick wall.
Okay, cool. So nib brick wall, this is actually a good one, and we're doing this quite a lot as standard. We're like in your initial quotes, I'm going, hey, let's just add it into your mortgage. So the pain in the ass, the easiest way for you guys to think about what I'm talking about is spare bathrooms, right? It always gets missed in spare bathrooms. The gap we're talking about is the one that's between where your cabinet is and where your shower screen is. So if the fortunate ones that have a shower screen, not a shower curtain, the gap in between that little tiny gap that you can barely get your fucking hand through to try and clean, always gathers dust and all sorts of shit. It is the bane of fucking everyone's existence, right? So what you can do with a new build is actually brick that up, and that's called a brick nib wall or like a dogleg wall. So what happens is you remove that gap by bricking it up, and you extend the bench top that little bit so it's butt up against it. And what you also do is with that shower screen now, you remove the bottom section because it's now brickwork, and you move the shower glass to the edge of the brickwork. So it's basically as close to the cabinets as possible, like to your vanity. And what that does, it creates a ledge, and that's your ledge inside your shower, which now creates, you know, rather than having to have a fucking, what are they called? Those old soap fucking holder thingies?
Yeah, like a soap holder.
Instead of having a soap holder, you now have a ledge. So it looks a lot cleaner, reduces cleaning, you know, having to clean a lot more and shit. It looks fucking $1 million.
Yeah, it does. It looks really nice and it's very functional. Yeah.
So last time, because it's easier because we get the question all the time. Like people ask, how much is it? Allow about $560-$600. You're pretty much bang on per nib wall.
Yep, but that's so worth it.
Oh fucking man. I would pay that within a heartbeat because we had to redo ours and we removed it. Best thing we did.
Yep. And lucky last one is adding a soap niche into the shower or
Yep.
next to the bathtub.
Yep. So soap niche. So soap niche is basically like that, the rectangular or the square cutout that you see in a lot of en-suites. So basically how that works, you do them normally where the showers are or where there's a freestanding bathtub or a bathtub, so that you've actually got somewhere, to put like some candles or whatever and create a little vibe if you want.
We learnt that a whole bottle of wine fits in there.
Champagne, actually. It was a champagne with 2 glasses. We have a photo of that. We're going to post that up because that was fucking sick. Shout out to Jack and Kate. So, yeah, so basically it is definitely one of the biggest things that we're seeing a lot of people add at Prestart. It is a non-structural item, so that means that you don't need to do it up front. You can pay for that separately at Prestart. What else? That's the one where I do recommend either you make the choice, you do the trim around to suit the colors, if it's black or chrome, whatever, or you look at doing mitered edging so that it looks nice. In my opinion, I think a fucking frame actually looks better in that area. In my opinion, it's entirely up to everyone else, but I do definitely recommend pulling those in. If you don't want to do that, a similar pricing is to create a ledge instead. So you add, by doing them, obviously, because they're cutting out into the brickwork, then putting a lentil to support it. Alternatively, you can reduce a little bit inside your shower and create another whole brick nib wall, and you do about halfway, and that's another ledge, and you can actually put all your stuff on there. So we have seen a few people do them as well as a cost alternative. I think that realistically, by the time we've done the brickwork and the waterproofing and the tiles, it actually came in almost the same price. Same,
but different.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, it's just a matter of what people want. Some people want it, some don't. So yeah, just some ideas to think about in your shower. About, no one wants to have those little fucking dingy soap, those soap holders and shit on your fucking nice new shower and like ensuite. So where you gonna store your shit? You don't want to be storing all your crap on the floor. Like, fuck that.
Yeah, where you store your soaps and body washes and all that.
Yeah,
keep that in mind.
Your loafers and shit, all them stuff.
Okay, let's move out of the bathroom and move into the garage.
We've still got more in the bathroom. The recessed cabinetry, the extension of the mirror.
Oh,
okay.
yeah, sorry. I forgot the mirror. Sorry, the mirror was the first point. I missed that one. Okay.
Fuck's sakes, Julia.
Extending the mirror.
So extending the mirror. So a good example, once again, is the spare bathroom. The reason why I'm using the spare bathroom a lot is because it's very generic and very similar across all the builders and designs. It's very similar. There's always going to be, different orientations, guys, but
Same,
but different. So the way I like to try and imagine it is if you're walking through the door into the bathroom, normally you will see your shower straight away first. Then on the right hand side, like if the door's on the very left, you're going in. Then next to that is normally where your vanity is, and then at the very end of that is normally where you have your bathtub and then a window. So in that configuration, and I don't know if we can pull up a photo or not, but if not, follow me here. Follow me, children. So basically, your mirror will always be normally in line with your vanity, right? And then the gap between where your vanity is and the edge of the wall, that's obviously where your bathtub is, that's always open. So it's normally going to get painted. A free wall. I recommend, and we've done videos on this shit, I recommend you actually extend your mirror all the way to the end. Sometimes it can be a one-piece mirror. Sometimes it might be an additional mirror. And think about it, it's less paint, less shit you need to try and figure out what you're going to do because it's just a dud wall there. Extending it out, it looks a fucking $1,000,000 and it actually creates the area to feel a lot bigger. One of the biggest things with homes is the more mirrors and stuff like that you actually have, it gives this sense of reflection where it actually creates things to look bigger than they are. And in a smaller bathroom, it's these small things that you do and you add into the home and it makes it look bigger and grander than it is, which is, at the end of the day, it's just a bathroom. But if you can make it look better, fucking why not, for a very cost-effective option. The other one that I do is called the semi-recessing of the cabinets. Now, this is something quite new. I think I've been doing it for about 5-6 months. So it's not like, 50 years it's been happening. Not a lot of people actually thought about it. I don't know who the fuck actually first started, but kudos to them. So in your cabinetry, it is normally flush against the, to the floor.
You got to think explain that more. When you look at your cabinet,
when you're looking at your cabinetry, the bottom section where like the kick panel basically is, like that section. So under where the actual cupboard doors open, that's the area we're talking. Normally, that's basically flush with the cabinets. So what you do is you semi-recess that. So when you think of, you know, some real grand en-suites and shit, you think of like, you know, floating shelves that are just stuck on the wall and they look amazing. Yeah, the hell bougie homes. Now, that shit is fucking expensive to do proper ones. So the poor man's version is you semi-recess that. So what that means is we just push that recess back a little bit, which does mean that you have a little bit more fucking cleaning to do. It's just like,
not really.
It's not really that much. You just have to fucking vacuum a little bit more. And what that creates that semi-floating look, and it really does actually make a difference when you've done the dogleg shower that we've said and the extension of the mirror. It actually creates that area to really look so much nicer. And like we're talking a total tally of everything with the mirror and that and the fucking semi-recessing. Fuck me, man, you're looking like $1,200 roughly about there. It's not like thousands, but it looks thousands of dollars worth of changes for such a small amount of money. And 100% I do recommend doing it. I've been pushing that with clients for fucking so long in pre-starts because it just looks $1 million. And when you guys start seeing, we have them on our socials as well. And we've even done like, you know, stories going this versus that and of the different en-suites, that always fucking wins with people's requests. And yeah, it's a fucking very cost efficient change to your bathroom, and it makes it look a lot nicer. The semi-recessing on the cabinetry, I normally do it in the bathroom and the ensuite at the same time because it's the last time I looked at the builder charged like $40-$50 per bathroom. So like it's sweet fuck all.
Yeah,
bro. Like you like
just do it.
It's like half an hour's worth of work.
Just send it.
Well, actually, it's a bit more than half an hour's worth of work. It's about 1 week's worth of toilet breaks. That's about how much it is.
Oh my goodness.
that you get the job. Oh shit. I'm a fucking comedian sometimes.
Okay, let's move out of the bathroom into the garage now.
All right, garage.
Happy with that?
Fuck. What
So
part of the garage?
I've only got 3 points here, but I'm sure that we've got more than what I've got written down because we wrote this very quickly in the car on the drive over.
Yeah, we like to wing it last minute.
So the first one I've got in capital, hoists.
Hoists.
At a junction box.
Yeah, okay, cool. So if you decide to do the hoist setups with us, there's one of two options now. So number one is we're the first builder ever to actually offer the hoist to be installed in your build. If you decide not to do it and you want to get the hoist set up later, we already do the engineering and the reinforcement. That is standard, how I do my garages for the hoist setups. However, the electricals is what you got to think about. So depending on, some people want to centralize and put the power point right in the middle. Some people might want to shift the hoist as far to the recess as possible to create a bit more of a workshop bench on the right hand wall, because I always put on that right hand side. So in light of that, if you don't know exactly where you're going to position that hoist straight off the bat when you're doing your electricals and pre-start, put a junction box up into the roof. So then it makes it a lot easier to put a 15 amp plug, which is what you need to actually get the fucking hoist actually installed. So when they come in to supply and install the hoist, they're going to be like, hey, where's your fucking electrical? If you've got a junction box, the sparker can just go and switch it over and get it sorted out for you. That is number one. Number two, lighting. Now, look, I love my builders. I love working with them. But at the end of the day, they charge a fucking arm and a leg for lighting. It is, I don't know why, because we have so many sparkies that we work with. And we've asked them, hey, how much is it to fucking do a downlight or whatever? They're like 40, 50, $60. Half the builders charge 130 per downlight. It's just fucking ludicrous. So,
well, they're going to make their money. You got to.
Yeah, look, there's a fine line between making money and just like fucking, what the fuck is this?
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, in light of that, don't do it with the builder. Whatever lighting you do have in there, set it up into where you might want to, replace it with a downlight, or if you want to do some panel LED lights, always get them done afterwards. So orientate whatever you have existing in there into a position where you can get that replaced afterwards without it being a pain in the ass. That's number two. Number three option with garages, if budget permits, upgrade your ceiling to plasterboard ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
It does cost a bit, but it looks a shit ton better than just your standard fiber cement. but it costs money. What gyprock ceilings will look like is like the inside of your house. So it'll be all flush. You won't see any joints or anything like that. And normally it comes with a cornice around as well because it has to hold it all in together. So that is something as well to look at with garages. And PowerPoints. Fuck me.
The last point I've got is PowerPoints.
Okay, so PowerPoints. Think about how you're going to set up your shit, right? So for all of the guys that, and girls that obviously need the garages, where are you going to put any chargers that you need? You know, like we're talking, you know, battery chargers for like tools and shit. Where are you going to be vacuuming your car inside? Are you going to be vacuuming your car outside? You might want to put some PowerPoints near the front of the garage towards where the roller doors are. Because if you got a power washer, you ain't going to be power washing inside your garage. And if you are, what the fuck are you doing with yourself? Take it outside. So if you've got that, and you've got one of our quad garages or 6-car garages, bro, the fucking garage is like 12 meters long. You're going to need such a big extension lead for no fucking reason because you've dumped a PowerPoint at the back of the garage. Add one at the front. You're going to cut yourself needing a fucking 10, 12 meter additional extension lead for no reason. And it just makes life a little bit easier if you're fucking, you know, power washing or if you're doing anything that you need to do to use electricity. So that is always handy. What else?
That's the 3 points that we had. I do want to cover...
Well, epoxy flooring, garage flooring.
Okay, talk about epoxy.
Well, it's just whether you want to do it in the build or you want to do it afterwards. If you want to do, you know, do a coating on your floor, 100% do it before you move in. If you need to delay all your shit, do so. Get the garage done because it is an absolute pain in the ass to do after you've started moving in and you've put all your shelving in. You'll always go, should be right, I'll do it later. Guys, you're spending so much money on these homes, and a lot of you guys and girls are spending so much money on the garages. Take some pride in it, and you know you don't want to be seeing fucking oil stains and fucking burnout marks and exhaust marks and shit. Just fucking get it all cleaned up. Go seal it. It makes life a lot easier if you need to clean it and shit. So make sure to think about those things before you go further.
So that's most of our points, all of our points that we've got.
Yeah.
I've got a couple things to note here to do before you go to Prestart. And the first one is if you're building alone or building with a partner, discuss a Prestart allowance.
Okay, yeah. So I don't think many people actually know you can do this.
Yeah.
Well, it's not really advertised a lot. So think about it. So what a Prestart allowance is, and many builds will allow you to do this if you request it. So let's say you want to, you know, you start having a bit of a look and go, shit, I want quite a few extra PowerPoints. I might want to do a few things. And you do have a little bit of, you know, allowance left in the budget. What you could do is actually add, you know, 1, 2, 3, maybe $5,000 if it allows. You can add that into your mortgage, and that allowance that, you know, basically is money that you will start off with when you go to your Prestart, and then it will be deducted from it. So you'll spend, let's say you end up spending $8,000, but you had $5,000 loaded into your home. That means you only have to come out of pocket for the remainder 3. So it helps rather than you having to, you know, if you're really struggling with saving a lot of money for your deposit straight off the bat, and you know you can, you know, you can afford to borrow that little bit more and it's all G, that might be an alternative. So then you're not having to continually save nonstop, and then you might delay the process.
Not where I was going with this. But it's a really good point.
Well,
I was talking more about the sense of before going to Prestart, have a budget in mind, and maybe even tell your consultant, you know, we can only spend $3,500 at Prestart.
But how do you know what 3.5 is, and how will they know?
Well, you don't know, but you start saying, you know, this is what my budget is. So then when you might query, I want to do overhead cabinets, the Prestart straight off the back can say, look, that's going to blow out of your budget. Do you want to increase your budget, or do you want to just leave it? So at least you're not going and doing every single upgrade you want and then coming back and being hit with like a huge Prestart bill.
Well, I'll start with pulling an allowance in if that is possible, and then saving what you can, because a lot of what you spend at Prestart is outside of your contract.
Yes, which was my next part, which is what is covered by finance and what is extra.
Normally how it works with finance is whatever was added into your quote and into your contract. When you sign your building contract, which has your quotation in there and the rough Prestart addenda and your plans, that is normally what your broker, your finance broker, is going to the bank for. The finance broker is basically grabbing the land contract that you've signed, right? And the building contract that you signed with the builder, and any variations, if it's been included, is all being sent off to the bank for approval. So you got to double check this with your finance broker going, hey, are you going to help me cover the pre-start altogether if there's variations, or am I doing that separately? Once you have that conversation, you know where you stand, and that will help with it. But normally, whatever's in that contract quote, so pre-start is all done via variation. So that means it's a variation to the contract. So it's outside of what you're normally financing with the bank.
Yeah. So most of the time,
it's not financed.
You're going to have to pay for your
correct
for your pre-start upgrades out of pocket.
100%.
You cannot put that on your mortgage.
No.
Another thing to think about is mocking up your electrical plan. So before going to pre-start, getting your sketch or your contractor, like you
normally have a electrical plan in your building contracts and plans, and that's the one. Maybe you can explain, but basically print a couple copies of them and then start creating a plan.
I don't know if we mentioned this in the first one or if I'm imagining it, but print a couple copies of your electrical plan.
Yep.
And start drawing up on there. Well, I definitely talked about this in the first episode, but draw up on there where you want to put your light switches, where you want to put your power points, and where you put your lights, because that's something that can get quite overwhelming quite quickly at pre-start. And It's something where you can miss a PowerPoint, miss something so quickly and so easily.
Yep.
So at least you walk into pre-start with a good idea of what you want, and then you can amend at pre-start, obviously.
100%.
But at least it gives you a good starting point.
Absolutely. And I think something that a lot of people don't really think about are two-way switches. And it's just the reason why I quickly want to bring this up is that what a two-way switch means is that the switch can work from both ends. So like, for example, if you had a switch near the garage and then you had that same two-way switch at the front of the door, that means if you're entering through the door, you'll have whatever switches are connected, the lights connected to those switches, you can turn on and off from both ends, which can be very handy if like you're in the living room and you don't want to walk all the way to the end of the front door to turn on some lights. So just things like that. That's what two-way switches are and shit.
Yep.
It does help.
Last thing to do before going to pre-start is visit some showrooms.
Yes.
So what I mean by showrooms is normally visiting the carpet place that you visit. So for Levita, we use Trevor's Carpets.
Yep. Most builders are using Trevor's.
Most of them are. Going there and having a look at the carpets and having a look at the flooring.
Yep. See what's included as standard by your quote. So if you have a copy of your quote, bring that in with your plans and have a chat with them and go, hey, look, I'm building with Levita or Progen or Stellies, whoever the fuck you're with. What is their standard range? This is what I've been said that's included. What is that? And you can actually see, touch and feel in person, which is much better than looking at on a online portal.
Yep. And you need to visit the place where you are getting your tiling from.
Correct.
So very common ones are Crosby's.
So Levita's not using them at the moment. I think they're using European ceramics.
Yeah.
Crosby does have a big showroom as well. So there's many different ones. Once again, figure out who is the main supplier for your builder, whoever you're going with, and definitely go to them to do your tile selections before you go for your pre-start. And the sooner you prepare your floors and your walls, the rest of it starts to flow in much easier.
Yeah, once you know what color tiles you have, and flooring, it's so much easier to pick your cabinetry and your bench top and
100%.
all the other bits and bobs. And to finish off, once you have gone to pre-start, you have made all your selections.
What about the other areas, like Regal, like for plumbing options?
I didn't. That's on a different.
So
thing.
depending on some banks, some builders,
there's a couple of other places you can visit. So your tile place and your flooring place are your need to visit.
Yeah,
Normally you need to do that before pre-start.
Yep.
Everywhere else is kind of like optional fun to go and be able to see things in person before going to pre-start.
Especially if you're planning to make this house a bit more bougie and you've got a bit more of a budget, definitely look at like some of the suppliers like SEMA.
Yeah,
they normally supply a lot of the bathtubs, basins, shit like that.
Basins, kitchen sinks, laundry troughs, toilets, all the other bits and bobs, and they're located in Bayswater.
Yeah,
you can also visit.
Depends who's using who, but yeah, definitely.
You can also visit Alda.
Yes.
They do the same thing: kitchen, bathroom, laundry, Tupperware, shower heads.
They do a lot of the handles, shit like that. Shower heads. You see a lot of builders use them.
And they're located in Balcatta, I believe.
Yep.
You can visit Polytech. which is all your cabinetry selections.
If they're the ones to use it, they're really good as a showroom, so you can see colors and shit like that.
Yep. They're located in Osborne Park.
Yep.
You could visit Regal Concept Design. That's another plumbing place where you can see
basins, toilets, fucking sinks, shit like that. Again, if it's applicable for your builder. If not, some of them use Chroma and all that. So just have a chat with the builder and just tell them, look, we know the standard ones, but we want to look at some additional options. Which showrooms do you guys work with so that we can have a look?
Yep.
And they should be able to explain. But these are some of the builders that we work with, who they're using. So for a lot of our listeners and our clients, these are definitely something, and we normally send this off with a PDF file as well.
So Regal Concept is in Osborne Park. And the last one, and I think we mentioned this on episode 1, is going to Bunnings and looking at your paint colours, whether it's Dulux or Taubmans or whoever. Just go and pick the colours out of there rather than just picking off the portal.
Do not pick from the portal. Everything you look on there, and it's of no offence to the builder or anything, it's just how the shit fucking ends up looking. Go out to Bunnings, figure out who they're using as supplier, Taubmans or Dulux, who the fuck it is, and then start looking at the colours there, because those actual painted ones is a lot more realistic to what you're actually going to get.
So circling back, after your contract, after your pre-start appointment, you've done all the bits and bops, you've done all your selections, you've chosen everything. Normally what will get sent out to you is a pre-start addenda.
Yes.
And that should...
Pre-start or a contract addenda, however they want to fucking
However they want to call it.
Yep.
And that should have all of your new selections in there, specifying the colour, the brand, the model, the make, all the bits and bobs. Make sure you're reading through that and checking that those are the things that you have selected.
Yes.
Most of the addendas will have pictures next to it.
Depends on the units. Sometimes I wouldn't really rely on that, but 100% how your home is going to be decked out, and it goes to the detail of what mortar you chose, what color you chose, what fucking frames, everything, every
bricks,
little
your garage door, everything.
This is your holy grail, right? If it's not in this pre-sale addenda and it is not in your floor plans and your quote, you will not get this. Like, be aware. If it's not included in these components, and as you're signing, this is the last time you can confirm it, it ain't happening in your build. So there's no more, but you said this, you said that. No, if it's not in that final contracted addenda after you've done your pre-start to finalize it, it ain't going to be there. So make sure you query and you go through, take the time, spend the extra day or two. It's not the end of the world. The world isn't going to end if you take an extra day to go through that addenda. Once that's signed, it's locked in.
Yep. Read it through, tick it off, highlight it, do whatever method you need to do, but check that addenda off and make sure everything that you chose is the correct color, the correct brand, the correct look that you are looking for, because if you miss it, then the builders don't know, and that's what they work off.
And if you don't know something, or if you can't remember, chat to your pre-start consultant, because they should, they're a lot more aware, and a lot of this time it's your first or second time, you don't know what the fuck's going on. Lean on them for support. They are good for support. And if you're building with us, lean back to us. Hey, Nick, what the fuck is this? And I'll let you know straight up.
Yep. So let's plug. You can
we're done. We're done with tips for now. So that's 2 big episodes, guys. Have a gander through it. See if it helps you. If there's anything that we've missed that you want us to talk about, we've probably still missed shit, to be honest. But at the same time, hopefully this gives you some sort of insight and some tips and tricks to think about. Anything that you can recommend, just send it through to us.
Let's plug.
Yeah, now we can.
You can find Mr. Enthusiast on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, on our website, which is www.mrenthusiast.net.au.
Yep.
On Google, YouTube, Apple Podcast, and Spotify.
Yes.
Please don't forget to leave a rating or a review. They really help us in the back end.
Just message us on Insta what your thoughts are.
Just remember, guys, we're not here
to fuck spiders.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.